Gita life. Today we are going to be covering chapter 3 called Karma Yoga, and the acronym for this chapter is TREE. T-R-E-E. Okay? So, there are many lessons that we can learn from a tree. And the lessons that we can learn is on how to act and how to live in this world. Okay? Now, the followers of Karma Yoga, they must learn to imbibe the qualities of a tree. And not only for us, but all of us. So now, I'm going to present to you some scenarios. You tell me, what does a tree do in this scenario? And what quality does a Karma Yogi reflect on this? Okay? So the first one is, does a tree eat its own fruit? No. So, does a Karma Yogi eat its own fruits or enjoys its own work? Yes or no?
Yes and no.
Overall?
No.
No. What happens when a tree is cut down? What does a tree do then?
Nothing.
Huh?
Just grows again.
It grows again. So, just like the tree grows back when it's cut down, a Karma Yogi, even despite so many difficulties, will continue to work with the same determination. What about if a tree is abused at? Say some people are peeing on the tree or engraving on the tree. What does the tree do in return?
Does nothing.
It does nothing. So similarly, when the tree is engraved or when people urinate on it, the tree still gives shelter. So Karma Yogi always gives shelter, no matter how someone treats them. Okay? And what happens when the tree is full of fruits?
It gives.
Huh?
Drops
What?
the fruits.
It falls down. It becomes more humble. So when the fruit of devotion increases in the Karma Yogi, that person becomes more and more humble. Yeah, it doesn't become proud. So now the life and qualities of trees, they give us a profound insight into the art of living and functioning in this world while simultaneously remaining completely aloof. Okay? So, what do the 3 or the 4 letters stand for? T stands for Tyag. Does anyone know what is the meaning of Tyag?
Sacrifice.
Pronunciation.
Renunciation. To give up. Yeah, to give up. So that is from 1 to 9. R is called the rungs on the yoga ladder, like steps. The steps of a ladder. That's from 10 to 16. From 17 to 35, we are going to be looking at exemplary. Okay? Means like perfect example. And the last one is called eternal enemy, which is from 36 to 43. Yeah? Now, the first one, Tyag. So now Arjuna, when he hears the second chapter, when Krishna speaks to Arjuna, the second chapter of the Gita, Arjuna thinks that what you're telling me is spiritual life. But he thinks that going down a spiritual path and then also acting in the world, because see, Krishna says at the end of chapter 2 that you should now pick up your bow and you should fight. So he's giving the whole understanding of spirituality, and then in the end, he's saying, now you fight. So it's like, how does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. So he thinks that spirituality and material life are mutually exclusive. If I want to go down a spiritual path, I must tyag, I must renounce my material duties. This is Arjuna thinking. Okay? Unfortunately, this is a very common misunderstanding in the immature spiritualist and also in the uninformed observer. Alright? In the purport of the first text, Prabhupada writes that shows this misunderstanding clearly. He says that people think that Krishna consciousness is an excuse. They think that it is a retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. So that's what people think, that Once you've taken spirituality, you've left all your material duties behind and gone to the mountains to just meditate and find perfection there. But actually, this is not the case. Okay? Now, to dispel this misunderstanding that Krishna consciousness is a life of seclusion, Krishna explains the philosophy of working in Krishna consciousness in the 3rd chapter and 4th and 5th. Okay? So now let's understand Arjuna's misunderstanding. So Krishna, how many of you remember the acronym for the last chapter? What is the acronym? Gita. What does G stand for? What does G stand for? Guru. I? Identity. T? Two duties. And A? What is A? Atmarama. So Krishna talked about the identity, and he said that we are actually the soul and not the body. Okay? And he says that once you understand that this is identity, then there are 2 duties that you have to perform. That based on this knowledge that you are not the body but you are the soul, there are 2 duties. There is a material duty, a bodily duty, and then there is a spiritual duty or the soul duty. Okay? And then when we start doing these 2 duties side by side, when we start perfecting the balance between them, the perfection of balancing the 2 duties is that one becomes an Atmarama. Right? And Krishna says, and actually Arjuna asks in 254, that what are the qualities of a person who is an Atmarama? And Krishna basically says that that person is a person who is peaceful. He is very peaceful because he is not agitated by material life and he is very determined in his spiritual life. Okay? So, if the perfection of doing work, so this is Arjuna's understanding. Arjuna's understanding is, if, based on the 2nd chapter, if the perfection of doing my duties is that I should become peaceful at the end of it, then why am I even fighting this war? Because surely not fighting this war is a peaceful solution. Like if there's no bloodshed, it is peaceful, right? How many of you agree? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah? That's what Arjuna is thinking. Arjuna is thinking that if the perfection of work is to be peaceful, surely not fighting is the peaceful solution. So why is Krishna then telling me to fight? Now this is what confuses Arjuna. This unequivocal instructions by Krishna to become detached and also to fight. It doesn't make sense to him. So both Krishna and Arjuna, they are focusing on the same thing, on peace. But Arjuna is focusing on what type of peace? He is focusing on outer peace, while Krishna is focusing on inner peace. Okay? So, Arjuna's understanding. So, internally, you can be detached or you can be attached. And what he does, he equates this to what he shows externally. That means if you are engaged in action, that means you are 100% going to be attached to that action. Yeah? His understanding is, why would I be engaged unless I am attached? Yeah? Why would somebody do anything for any reason? It's because they are attached to doing that work, or they have some expectation around doing that work. They think that by doing it, I will get something. So Arjuna is thinking, why would I be engaged unless I am attached? But this is what Krishna reveals. Krishna reveals that your model, this model, is way too simplistic. Life is a lot more complex than that. Okay? Just like you have the entire color spectrum. Yeah? The whole color spectrum is made up of ideally only what? How many colors? 3 colors. Red, blue, and yellow. Mix and match all of it, you can get the entire color spectrum. So what Arjuna is thinking is that this is only the three primary colors. But Krishna says that no, life is a lot more complicated than that. You can have the entire color spectrum. Okay? So let us see Krishna's model now. Yeah? Krishna's model, he says that you can be attached and you can be detached. Two things. You can be attached, you can be detached. But you can be attached and engaged, or you can be attached and also disengaged. Or you can be detached, but detached and engaged, and detached and disengaged. Okay? This is one of the most important slides because it kind of covers or simplifies what the entire Gita is going to talk about. Okay? So let us start here. So when a person is attached and is engaged, when he's engaged, he can do two types of activities. He can do sinful activities and he can do selfish activities. Okay? So if you do sinful activities, that means you are doing activities which are not prescribed by the scriptures. You are doing whatever your mind is telling you to do, you are doing without reference to is it actually right or is it not right. Right? That's sinful action. You can be selfish. Now selfish is you can go according to the Vedic scriptures. You can act religiously, but you are acting it but for your own benefit. You are not doing something for anyone else. You are doing it for yourself. Because if you do something religiously, you will get some benefit out of this, and I will enjoy the benefit. So that is selfish. This is known as the karma kand section. The karma kand section. Okay? Then, if we go attached to disengaged, now these people are people who really want things, but they do not want to work hard to get them. Such people are irresponsible people. They are like in economics, we have the problem of the free rider problem, where people are just taking advantage of what the government is giving them, but they're not paying any taxes, they're not doing their part in upholding the system, but they are abusing the system of its benefits. Okay? So these type of people are the worst. That's why they said it is 100% not good. Okay? This is one thing that should be rejected. Having attachment, but not engaging in work to fulfill that attachment. Okay? Then you can be detached. Now in detached you can be disengaged. Now this disengaged is known as a path of renunciation. Means you don't want to do anything in the world and you don't want to do any activity for that matter. So this type of people, this is going to be further explained is two parts. The Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. Jnana Yoga will be in the last 6 chapters of the Gita, 13 to 18, and Dhyana Yoga will be in chapter 6. Okay? Now, you can be detached and at the same time you can be engaged. And now this is where we are, where you have two paths, Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga. Okay? Now this is what's more okay. So Bhakti Yoga is definitely the best. It is the best. It is going to be covered in the middle 6 chapters. 7 to 12 will all be about Bhakti Yoga. And our Karma Yoga, where you do selfless activities, because selfless automatically means that you are detached. Okay? Selfless already means you are detached. So this is the entire flow, if you want, of the Gita. Alright? Now, what does Krishna now mean? What did Krishna mean? Krishna meant that Arjuna, you should renounce the attachment to the fruit of action. While Arjuna understood to renounce action itself. Okay? So in the Gita, the 2nd chapter, Krishna uses the word karma sannyas. Now, karma sannyas, if you take the literal meaning of it, karma means activities, sannyas means to renounce. So, what Arjuna understood by the word karma sannyas is activities renounced, renounced activities. That's literal translation. But what Krishna was telling is, that you perform karma in the mood of sannyas. So you perform karma, but in the mood of detachment, in the mood of renunciation, or the mood of giving up the fruit of that action. That is the core difference between what Arjuna understood and what Krishna is trying to tell. Okay? Krishna also says that one must follow their prescribed duties in a detached manner, meaning in an informed manner of real relationships with God. This is now adding the Gyan section. Gyan section of understanding that we are the soul. And understanding that we are the soul, now with that understanding, with that knowledge, you are performing karma which is going to be of the nature of detachment. Okay? So real tyag means giving up greed, selfishness and envy which causes us to utilize material things in a self-centered way. Okay? By changing the vision from self-centeredness to selfishness, all material things can be spiritualized. Everything in the world is an opportunity to connect material things to a spiritual purpose and thereby creating spiritual progression. Whether it be work, whether it be our wealth, whether it be our family or our possessions, these all can be engaged in a spiritual manner. And if you do not use them in a spiritual manner, what will happen is that the same things is what's going to cause bondage. Right? Instead of owning things, we will become owned by the things. Yeah? Our house, instead of us enjoying the house will become like a prison. And how many of you have seen people on the deathbed, but still they're so attached, like what is going to happen to my house after I'm gone? Huh? So that house is nothing more than, but it's just binding you, it's a prison. At the end of the life, it's just, where's your attention going? It's going to making sure that the house is still in your name, but what's going to happen? It's not going to be there. So the house becomes a prison. Your family become like chains. And your asset and wealth becomes like a heavy burden that weighs you down. Okay? So in essence, when you become a spiritual person, it's not that you don't own things. Yeah? We also have cars, we also have phones, we also have laptops, we also have technology. But what is the main aim of using these things? We are using these things to preach and give messages of the Gita. We are trying to utilize them in a spiritual way. Yeah? In propagating spiritual knowledge. Yeah? So it's not that just because we own stuff, that means we're going to be owned by the stuff. Right? There's a sense of detachment. Even if it's not there, it's fine. Right? Because the main purpose is what? It's not material enjoyment. It's for using it for a spiritual end. Yeah? Now to start the journey of spiritualizing life, the path of Karma Yoga is recommended for everyone, for majority of everyone. And the reasons are also given. Krishna says to Arjuna, you should do Karma Yoga. Why? Because it is what is good for you. And it is also good for all of us. Because all of us, we are not pure yet. We all have selfish and material desires. And if we don't do work, if we don't have an outlet for purifying our desires, yeah, then you're going to get more and more frustrated. Yeah? So it says that inaction is unnatural for all of us. In 3.5, Srila Prabhupada says that imagine the soul. The soul right now is inside the body, but it is so active. Even your newborn baby is so inactive. They're so inactive. They're always looking for things. Have you seen a small baby? Have they ever sat and just like for 24 hours, I just sit and do nothing? No, they're always flapping their hands, their legs everywhere about. True or not? So, action or activity is the natural state for us. Inaction is very difficult. Imagine sitting in a room for 1 hour, no no distractions, no sense engagement. Just sit in a white room without noise. People go mad because inaction is actually not natural for us. Okay? And lastly, if we do decide that inaction is what we want to do, but if we prematurely renounce work, we prematurely decide, okay, I don't want to do anything, then what happens is that work is dangerous because your desires are not yet purified, and because the desires are not yet purified, and you've prematurely chosen not to engage your senses in enjoying better, then what happens is that you become frustrated and you become hypocrite, because you'll make a show that, oh, I'm very renounced, but when, as soon as there's no one looking, you will go and do all the sense engagement that you want to do. So you become a hypocrite. They said that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Yeah? So Krishna tells Arjuna to do his prescribed duty as a warrior and fight the war in the following mood. What mood? That you do it unattached. That means have no material desires to the outcome of the war. You fight because it is your duty to fight. Second is you offer your activities as a sacrifice for Vishnu. And if you do such a thing, then all your sinful reactions will be overcome. Alright? Now a question might be said, okay, you're telling me to do everything with no material desires. Or what to do if I still have material desires? What happens to that person? What do I do if I cannot work without material desires? Krishna says, still work. You should still work. Because you will, by performing actions with material desires and slowly giving up, sacrificing, that will purify you. And then you'll be able to give up your actions completely, when you're completely purified of material desires. So, by satisfying one desires in a religious way, those attachments will get purified. So the question here is religious way. So all our work has to be done religiously. So the next question is how to make our work worship. How can we make our work worship? So we understand that we are not pure enough to give up working because our mind is already full of material desires. So not working is not an option, we must work. But we can make our work worship. Okay? Now there's a story. There's a story of a thief and a cop. This thief is a very principled thief. He says that, you know what, I will just steal, but I'm stealing because I will take the money and I will distribute it for good causes, for upliftment of the people, of the underprivileged. But I'm going to steal because that's all I know. And then as soon as he plans, he does all the meticulous planning and he's stolen a lot of money. And then he basically says that I've given all my money out to all the underprivileged people around me.
Robin Hood.
Huh? Robin Hood. Okay. But as soon as he's done it, there is the police department gets active. They said, okay, a crime has taken place. We need to apprehend the criminal. We need to apprehend the thief. And they work very hard. They do a lot of investigation. They do a lot of detective work. And they finally are able to catch the thief. So, whose work was better? Whose work was better? Number one has taken supposedly wrong path. Thief. Yeah. Have you seen the Indian movie called Gabbar? Yeah. And yet he's still executed because although he had very good intentions of making changes in the system, but he did it in the wrong way. So the first principle to make our work worship, we need to follow the 4 R's. The first one is work has to be righteous. Work cannot, it has to be something decent. Work has to give a positive effect. Yeah? You cannot cause, like what you call it, you cannot cause somebody else to be upset, no matter how good your intentions are. Work has to be positive, and you cannot cause violence to people and exploit them. Yeah, you cannot have some people are, they sell drugs, but then, or they sell tobacco and they sell cigarettes, and then afterwards they start a hospital, a cancer hospital. What is that?
Business.
So that's violence. You are forcing creating a market for another business opportunity. Yeah? Then, second R is results. You offer them to Krishna. Now, out of your work, you can get many benefits out of it. First of all, you get money. But then at the same time, you also get skills, you get expertise, you get context, you get influence. All these are soft things that you can gain from your job because of doing the results of your job, all these things. Utilize them to spread Krishna consciousness. Utilize them in a spiritual manner. Give money to the temple as donations. If you cannot do that, then at least use your experience and your know-how to give some service in the temple. Yeah? Or if you cannot even give anything to the temple, at least attract other people to come to the temple. Use your influences. Yeah? So you can utilize all your results from the work in a righteous in a way that it propagates spiritual consciousness. Then what do? You remember Krishna. Now you can remember Krishna whilst working, or at least before and after. Students, before sitting down to work, you said that, okay, I'm doing this thing because this is my duty to work, to study right now, but I can utilize this knowledge that I'm gaining right now in some way to help you. Yeah? So, or if you are working on your laptop, then the password, you can put in something Krishna conscious. You can say, you can put the password as Krishna. But it's now people say now you need to have a number. You say put Krishna 108. And then they say put special character, put Krishna 108 exclamation mark. So you see, you can make even your passwords. Every time you log into the computer, what are you doing? You're remembering Krishna. Even your phone, you can put your wallpaper to a wallpaper of Krishna. So every time you look at the phone, you're remembering who? Remembering Krishna. And the last R is your remaining time. People are working from 9 to 5. Or what are you doing from 5 to 9? Everyone works 9 to 5. But what are you doing from 5 to 9? That is free time. That time you can come to the temple, you can read scriptures, you can discuss with family, you can do kirtan. So the remaining time you can utilize in Krishna conscious activities. So when you do all these 4 hours, you are going to make all your work worship. Yeah? Now we look at the next section, which is R, known as the rungs on the yoga ladder. So if you look back to the Krishna model that is on the 3rd page of your slides, this is where we get from attached to engaged, and this engagement is selfish. Okay? Is the karma kand section. Okay? Now, what has Krishna done? Krishna has designed the world in such a way that everything is dependent upon sacrifice. Okay? Now, all of us are a person. Yeah? We belong to many circles, progressively bigger circles. This could be family, this could be community, this could be nation, this could be earth or the planet. Yeah? We are all belonging in progressively bigger circles, right? But ultimately, if you go out, the last circle is who? Krishna himself. Because everything comes from Krishna. So ultimately the biggest circle is Krishna. Okay. So from every bigger whole, we are taking something from them. And if we are taking something from them, we are also meant to give something to them. Right? So, if we do not maintain that give and take relationship, there is going to be disruption. Let us try to understand this. Okay, what was Arjuna? What was his role? What was his duty? He was a warrior. Okay, he's a warrior. This is Arjuna. What is he getting from society? He doesn't get. What does he get from society? He gets power, he gets prestige, he gets position. Yeah, he gets all these three things from society because that's what his role demands or gets. But for all the things that he's supposed to get, power, position, and prestige, what does he have to give in return? He has to give protection to the society. Yeah? What is government supposed to do? We give the government taxes, but the government also has to give us things to do, like basic rights, electricity, water, our basic needs. They have to provide that. If the government just keeps on taking taxes and not provide the basic requirements, do I need to tell you anything more? This is what happens in every country. Yeah? There's going to be chaos, there's disruption, there's rioting. Because you're doing something, you're giving taxes, you're giving something, but it's not being reciprocated by the state. Yeah? So there's going to be disruptions. Even now, if you look about it, the world has gone a whole scale of industrialization where people are like, greed is good. Greed. Just exploit the world. But then after doing that for 200 years, they realize, you know what? Nature is fighting back now. There's a lot of climate problems, climate crisis and all that. Because they've taken it for granted that there is no extra whole that they're part of. So they've just been taking, but now they're not giving back. So now the motto is not become greed is good, but green is good. Do the economic development, but in a sustainable way. Because now we are understanding, there's an understanding that if you're taking something from nature, we also need to give back to nature. Right? So this whole idea of taking and giving, this gives rise to the concept of sacrificing. Yeah? It gives rise to the concept of sacrificing. Sacrificing can be of two types. Okay? Sacrificing can be of two types. The first type of sacrifice is completely selfless. I'm just going to give with no expectation of return. Yeah? Whether I get it or I don't get it, I'm not affected. Another type of sacrifice is selfish sacrifice. I'm giving because I'm expecting something back in return. Yeah? There's a selfish sacrifice and then there's a selfless sacrifice. We are going to focus on the selfish sacrifice because we are doing something because we have an expectation that we will get something in return. As I said, do unto others what you want others to do unto yourself, unto you. So this is selfish sacrifice mentality. Okay? Now, everyone lies on this scale from being completely selfish to being completely selfless. There are 6 types of human beings in this category. Alright? The 6 types are, there's a lawbreaker, there's a karma kandi, there's a karma yogi, then there is a jnana yogi, ashtanga yogi, and a bhakti yogi. Now let us understand this. A lawbreaker, these are your free riders. They are very attached, but they are going to be very disengaged. Yeah, they just keep on taking. What are they going to emphasize? So sacrifice is doing what? Sacrifice is you're giving up your impulsive pleasures for belonging in a larger group. You value belonging more than you value impulsive pleasures. But low breakers, they don't care about belonging in a bigger thing. They are just very self-centered. They only care about themselves. They don't even care about even the closest people around them. They don't even care about their family. So the low breakers, they emphasize impulsive pleasures and not belonging to a larger whole. And so these type of people, they don't perform any sort of sacrifice. They are completely selfish. Yeah? But a karma kanda, he does sacrifices, but for selfish reasons. And if you go across the whole scale, there's increasing emphasis on belonging to a larger whole than on impulsive pleasures. And when you start belonging to bigger and bigger wholes, when you start feeling that you have a duty to give back to society, and ultimately, who is the last whole? The last one is Krishna. So that is why a Bhakta yogi is most concerned with the last one. If you are able to reciprocate this perfectly, everything inside will be taken care of. Everything inside will be taken care of. So karma kanda does sacrifice for selfish reasons, but a bhakti yogi is completely selfless. He just sacrifices with no selfish reasons or no material desires. Have you understood this much? We have understood there's a progression of people. Okay? Now, because there are so many types of different people, some people are at the stage of being a low breaker, and that is the lowest. And the highest is the stage of a bhakti yogi. Now, the Vedas have to cater for everyone. They cater for the people who are complete low breaker to a person who is a bhakta. Okay? They sustain or they give directions for each type of person. Okay? So, there are 100,000 lakh verses. So 1 lakh is 100,000. But there are 100,000 verses. So imagine how vast the whole library of the Vedas are. So the majority of this amount, they refer to the karma kanda section. Like you can imagine how much skewed the graph is. We saw that there are 6 different types of people, yeah? But the majority are only here or here. Yeah? Majority of people are here. There are very few people who come here. So the Vedas also reflect this in its content. It is meant to help people move from here to here. Okay? So the majority of them are told to do sacrifices for fruitive activities. If you want a good son, you do this sacrifice. If you want material prosperity, you do that sacrifice. If you want this, you do that. If you want this, you do that. Yeah, you see many people falling in this circle, on this stage. Now, a small percentage of people will move higher. They think that after doing all these material activities, getting material stuff, what is the point of it? We kind of explained it in the last session that material happiness has got 3 features. It is either unattainable, or it's unpalatable, or it's unattainable. So people, after so many times of basically going after material things, they get to the understanding that these material things are not giving me happiness. It's not at all giving me happiness. And these people rise to the jnana section. They'll be like, okay, there must be something greater than this. Life cannot just be about living and being merry. Because ultimately, people do that, but still they have regrets, and they die with regrets. So that cannot be the aim of life. So they come to the jnana section. And then after getting to the jnana section, is even lesser amount of people who progress beyond this jnana section to the bhakti section. Yeah, these are the people who are the topmost transcendentalists. Okay? So the Vedic civilization was accommodating for the full spectrum of people in various consciousnesses. That is why sometimes in the Vedas it says that, oh, you can do this sacrifice. But then another section says, oh, you should not do that. Because for a certain type of people, this is necessary to raise them. Yeah? Just like if I tell you, there's the two smokers or the two patients who go to a doctor. One is a chain smoker and one is just started smoking. But now both of them want to give up smoking. The doctor tells the chain smoker, oh, you're smoking 50 cigarettes a day, smoke 40 cigarettes a day. And the person who's just started smoking said, give it up. So what's the difference? What is the difference in the instruction? Is the doctor telling that person to smoke 40 or to reduce the intake by 10? Huh? Reduce by 10. And the person who just started smoking 1 or 2, he's told him to stop. So now somebody will be like, oh, but the doctor told him to smoke 40. Yeah? The doctor told him to smoke 40. Why is he telling me to not have anything at all? Imagine, this is how we think. But what is the purpose of the doctor's prescription? It's ultimately for both of them to reduce. But for one person, if he was smoking 50, he cannot come directly to 0. He needs to come down slowly. While a person who is already not smoking a lot, so not to have him smoke more, you can already give him the instruction that stop smoking at all. Yeah? So different instructions are given for different people based on different consciousnesses. Have we understood that point? Yeah. Okay. So, therefore, to make sure that everyone progresses spiritually, there is something known as the yoga ladder. Yeah? There's a yoga ladder system. And each rung helps one to progress and ultimately become 100% purified. They reach here this point. Okay? Now, for example, mathematics. Mathematics as a subject is being taught in year 1, year 2, all the way to GCSE level, even up to A level, and also up to university level. Now, if a person in year 3 or year 4, for example, takes a textbook which is made for university level, he'll look at the mathematics textbooks and what is his conclusion? Oh, this thing doesn't make sense at all. Yeah? So that thing is too advanced for him at that point. He doesn't have the qualification. He doesn't have the qualification required as of yet to be able to appreciate and to understand a university level mathematics textbook. Right? So this qualification, this is what is known in the Shastras as one's adhikar. Adhikar, in nowadays it means, what is your adhikar on this? What is your right? No, the actual meaning of the word adhikar is what is your qualifications to understand that. And so Krishna is telling to Arjuna, your adhikar, your qualification on this ladder is you have to do karma yoga. Yeah? A person, and we go back to that smoking example. A person who is smoking 50 is going to do 40. His adhikar to reduce is at this level. Slowly he will rise, and get to a point where he will completely leave it. While a person who has only started smoking, his adhikar is here. So for him, a different instruction is given to reach that point. But for this person, another instruction is given so that he can slowly get up to that point. Understood this one so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us look at that. Steps. So the 6 people, the law breaker, karma kandi, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and finally bhakti yoga. You can take the steps up, which is known as the indirect method, or you can take the direct method. You can take the steps, or you can take the elevator. How many of you want to take the elevator? How many of you want to take a shortcut? So, this shortcut, if you want to go this path is blocked by a key. So, you need to go to the people who have the key to the shortcut path. So a person from any position, whether you are a law breaker, whether you are karma kandi, whether you are karma yogi, whether you are jnana yogi, or whether you are ashtanga yogi, from that point you can easily go to bhakti yoga. But what is the key? The key is that you need to associate with devotees. Yeah? If you want to become a millionaire, you associate with people who are already millionaires. If you want to be a billionaire, you associate with people who already are. And if you want to get to Bhakti Yoga, you go to the people who already have Bhakti in their hearts. Then only will you be able to get to the stage of Bhakti Yoga. Yeah? So, we have three things. We have our fruits. Okay? Fruits come about because we have performed some action. And action comes because we have some desire. Because we have some desire, we will perform some action, and that action we will produce some fruits. This is what karma yoga does. Okay, you got your desire, you got action. Now you got the fruits. The fruits, you can do three things with it. You can either 100% enjoy, you can give some away, or you can give 100% away. Okay? People who are 100% enjoyers, they are on which level? They are on which level? Low breaker, or they could be also at which level? Karma kant. Low breaker or karma kant. They are the first two levels. Then if they start giving some of it away, they come into karma yoga. Now karma yoga has got two parts: sakam karma yoga and nishkam karma yoga. So by giving some of it away, a percentage is called sakam because you still have some attachment. But nishkam means with no attachment. You're giving 100% away. So this is karma yoga. So karma yoga, this is the first three levels. So what is the difference between karma yoga and bhakti yoga? So here your desires are still self-centered. Okay? Your desires are still self-centered. And after you've done everything, after you got the fruits, then you're giving it away. Yeah? But Bhakta Yogi is not self-centered. He is selfless. He first does it, his only desire is to do something for Krishna. Then automatically action and fruits already for who? So this is the progression, you see. That a karma yoga starts with fruits. Jnana yoga is already frustrated with the fruits of the material world. So he doesn't really want to get to this point. He wants to first purify his actions. He wants to purify his desire, his intentions. But bhakti yoga already is very selfless. So from the very beginning, everything is completely selfless. So that is why you see the progression. And you can correspond it with the progression in the yoga ladder. Is this much clear? Yes? Okay. So, now, sacrifice. Krishna talks about that in the world there is a cycle of sacrifice. Okay. So we start. Living entities. All of us. All of us need one thing to survive. What is the one thing that we need to survive?
Food.
We need food. So we start here. A living entity requires food to survive. Now, food is grown when there are. When is food grown? When there is what?
Water.
When there is rain. When there is rain. Now, the rain is produced if there are what? There are some sacrifices being performed. Okay? And sacrifices come about from our prescribed duties, the karma that we are meant to perform. And where do we get this information from? We get it from the Vedas. And the Vedas ultimately come from who? From the Supreme Lord. So, to complete the cycle, the living entity then offers the food to Krishna and it completes the cycle. It completes the cycle. So, the aim of the cycle of sacrifice, the aim of it is to make the link that ultimately our existence, which is based on food grains, is ultimately because of whose mercy? Because of the Lord. Because we are getting the stuff, we are existing or sustaining ourselves on the provisions of God, we need to at least offer everything that we do to God. So this food is basically an analogy for everything that we need. We offer it back to God. This creates the link. And it also makes the thing that not demigods, not any other person, but God Himself is the only one worthy of worship. Because it's only because of Him everything is happening. Okay? That is the whole aim of the cycle of sacrifice. And what is the aim of the rung of the yoga ladder? Is to make sure that people don't stagnate. They don't feel like, okay, I'm at this level, I'm always going to be on this level. No, the whole aim of the yoga ladder is so that people can slowly make their way up and finally get to the last stage, which is Bhakti Yoga. Okay? Now, let's look at the next part. So, what we looked at right now was this part, 3:11 to 3:16, the whole karma kanda section and the sacrifices. Now we will look at a person who has completely purified himself. He's not attached. He's not attached to material desires. He's completely detached. Now, that person, should he be disengaged or should he be engaged? And this is the question. Huh? So the thing is, a person has now purified himself. He has no material desires. He's not attached. He's now detached. Now, for a person who is detached, he has got two options in front of him. He can either choose to engage in the world, or he can choose to get detached. And if he gets detached, it's okay because he's not attached. So if he gets detached, he's not going to be irresponsible. He's not going to be a mityachari. He's not going to be a show bottler. He's actually got inner purification of consciousness that he can sustain himself by not doing work. And he will not be called he will not be a pretender.
So, if he becomes disengaged, would he still serve Krishna?
Yeah, indirectly, yes. Indirectly, yes.
So that's wrong. He's
Yes.
supposed to be engaged.
No, but then some people don't want that. Some people.
You have to be directly engaged.
Let's take the questions afterwards, yeah? At the end of the session, still have a bit to cover. So, when we go back to the model, so detached, again, two parts, engaged part or disengaged part. What is better? What is Krishna recommending? Krishna is recommending still be engaged, yeah, and perform your duties selflessly. Okay, why? So karma yoga, as I said earlier, is divided into two parts. So kam karma yoga and nishkam karma yoga. Now, such a person, when doing Sakam Karma Yoga and then progresses to Nishkam Karma Yoga, eventually gets to a point where he doesn't have any material desires. Right? Now, the duties prescribed duties are to be performed until one's material desires are purified into spiritual desires. Okay? But what to do if one has no more material desire left? Should he still perform sacrifices? And Krishna says, yes, you do it because you're going to set an example for other people to follow. Okay? Krishna himself gives the example that he himself, and there's another king called King Janak, they are also doing prescribed duties. And they're only doing it because they're setting an example for the rest of humanity to follow. Okay? Krishna stresses on the point that purified devotees need to guide the rest of society in many activities for their, not themselves, but for other people's gradual purification, because common men follow great men. The common men follow great men. Now, so Krishna is saying, Arjuna, even if you believe that you're not here and you're here, even if you believe that you're purified enough that you can give up your duties, still you should continue to act in the world. Because what happens? He's a leader, he's a Kshatriya, he's a king, he's a saintly king. People will look at his example and they'll be like, okay, he did this at this time, at this point of time, this circumstances, so I should also follow that person. Now, the person who follows that person might not have reached the inner purification that Arjuna reached, but they will just aimlessly follow that person. Yeah? How many of you love football? How many of you love football? How many of you think that just by looking at footballers and practicing the skills, you can also become as good as them? No, you will not. Because you have not understood the inner mentality and inner struggles that a footballer or professional footballer has gone through to get to that stage. You have not matched the level of sacrifices they have done. You have not understood or really internalized the lessons and the characteristics and the mindset that you need to develop to able to reach that level. Just by aimlessly copying somebody else without understanding the inner work that is required to sustain it is not going to work. It's not going to work. So that is what Krishna is saying, Arjuna, that even if you think that you are purified enough, still you should work to set an example for other people. Right? Therefore, even Krishna is God. He doesn't need to do anything. Yeah? He doesn't need to do. He's the greatest authority. Yet, when he comes down to do his leelas, he performs all the prescribed duties. When Krishna, if you look at Krishna and his Dwarka leelas, he's doing sacrifices, he's doing every single household duties that you would expect a normal person to do. Why? Because people are always going to follow great men. And Krishna is the greatest of them all. He is the greatest authority. So if Krishna himself doesn't do it, then people will follow his path and everything will put into ruination. Right? Krishna even tells Arjuna that if I do not follow my own prescribed duties that I need to do for everyone, then I will be the cause of ruination. Right? Now, some people might say, okay, so we can just follow Krishna. No, we cannot. Krishna is God. We cannot imitate his actions. We cannot go and lift a mountain with our little finger. We cannot do that. There are certain things that we cannot imitate, but we can follow the instructions and the words of Krishna. That we can do. Okay? That's a cautionary note there. Okay? So, again, also what happens is, some people are only detached and they're wise. And the other people who are attached and they're ignorant. Now the people who are detached and wise, they should not point at the people who are attached and ignorant, just make a jump here. You cannot. If a person tries, he will get up and then he will sink lower. He will fall even flat. He will fall flat on his face. So a person who is detached and wise, he will chart out paths. It's like you're here, yeah, and a person is right here. So a person is here. He says jump here. What happens? He starts to jump and then he falls even more. But a wise person creates steps to get to this level. Okay? To get to the level of being detached. Okay? Now, Krishna also stresses on performing one's own duties, even if imperfectly, and not copying another's duties perfectly, for everyone has a different psychophysical nature. No two people are the same. Everyone is unique and everyone has got a unique ability. Right? So, it's like there are two people who go into an exam room. And you have not studied at all for the exam. But just by luck, by providence, you are sitting next to the smartest person in class. And then you say, okay, that's perfect. Like, no, everything is all setting is done perfectly. I'm next to the smartest person in class. And then when the exam is taking place, you just look and copy all the answers perfectly to the T. You've copied all the answers of that smartest person in the room. And then you'll be like, yes, I've smashed it, I've aced this exam. And then you get out of the exam room, and then you realize everyone had a different exam paper. Yeah. So this is what happens. Everyone has got a different psychophysical nature. You cannot copy anyone else. You said that they say you are born an original, don't die a copy. Don't die a copy. Okay? Just like you have in a hospital, there are two people in a ward, private ward. One person is there because he's got a heart failure function or a heart disease, and another person has got a liver disease. And then they're talking, and then they make friends. The person with the liver disease and the one with the heart disease. And then the doctor comes and he says, okay, for you I'm prescribing this. Now, if the liver person goes and says that, doctor, even I want to have the same medicine as this person is having, how is that going to work? How is that going to work? It's going to be more detrimental, right? Instead of being any helpful, it will be more detrimental. So, the Gita, so the world basically tells you that you can be the best in everything you choose to be. But the Gita says no, that is just going to lead to frustration. What you can do is you can be the best you are meant to be. And there's a difference. Right? So, coming to the last section of this chapter, Arjuna basically said, okay, what you've told me, what you've all told me right now here, it all makes a lot of sense. It all makes a lot of sense. But, and I'm also determined to do and follow my own duty. But in life, even though I know what is the right action to perform, I still end up doing the opposite thing. Why? So has this ever happened to you? Like, some people say, when cigarettes first came out, they first said that smoking is hazardous or is injurious, and then people still started smoking. So it kept on going. The demand still kept on increasing, and then they started. The warnings became bigger and bigger and bigger. In the end, it became smoking kills, and then they would put a picture of a completely black lung, and even that was not enough of a deterrent for people who are intent on smoking, right? So, you know that smoking is bad for you. It is written on the packet that smoking kills. Yet, people are attached to smoking. So, even though you know it's wrong for you, but you still cannot help yourself, but still do it. Yeah, but still engage in smoking. So Arjuna is a pragmatist, and he realizes that no matter how something beautiful sounds theoretically, applying it practically in your life is a completely different ballgame. Yeah? Theoretically, it makes a lot of sense. But practically, it is a different ballgame. So Krishna is saying that this stumbling block is what is known as lust. What exactly is lust? Let us understand that. Right? Now, every soul has an inherent quality to love. But when the soul comes to this material world, this original quality of loving turns into lust. Okay, it turns into lust. So what is lust? Lust is nothing but it is born out of the soul's contaminated consciousness, thinking that I am the enjoyer and the controller, which makes the soul live in a very self-centered way in pursuit of getting happiness. The lust, what it does, it locks us in a material conception of life, and because it locks us in a material conception of life, it continues our material existence. Okay? What lust does is that it pushes one to get instant gratification and pushes things away which are actually beneficial for us in the long term. Yeah? So, in the Gita, it says that lust burns like a fire, in that it is never satiated. Okay? Now, there's a fire.
Don't light up.
So if there is a fire, yeah, what does the person do? Does the person go towards it or goes away from it?
Away.
Away from it. Yeah? Okay, very good. Now, what happens if the fire is within a person? Where does a person go? How can a person escape a fire which is burning inside him? There is no way to escape this fire. But can you make the fire drowse a bit? Yes. So what they do is, so what the society does? To drowse this fire, you add petrol. Now does petrol increase or decrease the fire? Increases the fire. So people say that, oh, you are struggling with having material desires. Don't worry, go and enjoy and then come back. But what happens? You enjoy something, but then after you finish it, you want more of it. You want more of it. You want more of it. So this fire keeps on burning. Another thing you can do is, if there's a fire, you put a block of firewood. What happens to the fire now? No, if you put wood, as soon as you put wood on the fire, what happens to the fire? It will seem like it is extinguished, but this is not ordinary wood. This is firewood. Then, as soon as the layer of firewood is gone, and then the wood catches fire, what happens to the fire? It becomes bigger. Yeah, it becomes bigger. So, this firewood will give us momentarily relief. Yes, but as soon as that catches fire, oh my God, it's much bigger. So, it's like this. All sense pleasures, okay, sense objects, at the beginning will give you some pleasure, right? But then what happens is this fire becomes bigger and bigger. Then when you start indulging in sense pleasure again, instead of giving you pleasure, it becomes more of a question of giving you relief. It gives a bit of relief. That, okay, I wanted this, now let me just indulge in it. That will at least now give me some relief from the fire of craving. From the fire of craving. Now, if you keep on adding more firewood, then what happens is, this is not even enough, you become desperate. Yeah? That until you have indulged in it, till that time, the fire will keep on burning inside you until you indulge in it. And this is the stage of being an addict. Yeah? So what can start off being something very pleasurable in the beginning, ends up becoming an addict. Does this thing relate to you? Does this make sense to you? Yes? So an addict has 3 characteristics. The one characteristic is that the cravings are very high. And then no amount of consequences are going to work. The consequences become irrelevant. And the person has almost zero control over themselves. Right? So there's a person. The craving in the head is inside him is just increasing so much that he has no control. He keeps on going towards the sense pleasures, and no amount of consequences work. They just fall off. That is why they say that a person is addict, just by telling them not to do it doesn't work, because inside the craving is so much that no matter how many consequences you put to them not to do it, that pales in comparison to the fire that is the fire of craving that is burning within them, and they don't have any control. They have to do it. They just have to do it, and then this consumes them, and then they feel like even though I don't want to do it, but it feels like I'm pushed towards doing it. Inside they feel like I don't want to do it, but yet they are being pushed towards doing it because it's become that conditioning of themselves. It's become like that it becomes a thing that controls them. Alright? So, we don't want to get to this stage. So, to defeat an enemy, one must know where he resides. If you don't know where the enemy resides, and you say you want to attack this person, you want to attack this nation, at least you know where the nation is. Yeah? You're not going to go to another side of get on the ship and go in the other direction and fight with another country. Your enemy is there. You need to know where your enemy resides before you can start fighting against that enemy. Right? The first step is to understand where they are. So Krishna tells, where is the enemy the enemy known as lust? Where does he reside? Lust resides in our senses, mind, and intelligence. We need to get rid of lust from these three places if we want to not get to the stage of being an addict. Okay? So our body is comprised of two material bodies. There's a gross body and there's a subtle body. The gross body is made up of the senses and all the gross elements: earth, air, water, fire, ether. And then our subtle body is made up of the three subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego. And then covering inside, these two covering is the actual who we are, the soul. Okay? So how do we get rid of lust from the gross body? How do we get rid of lust from our senses? So he says that you need to regulate your senses. You need to regulate the senses. And you need to strengthen the intelligence with transcendental knowledge. So your gross body, from outside, if there's something that is there to provoke you, you create distance. Yeah, you regulate yourself so that object which triggers your lust doesn't trigger it anymore, or you're creating a distance. And how you can sustain it is by regulating or strengthening your subtle body, by strengthening your intelligence with transcendental knowledge. Okay? So the last part is practical way of how to overcome temptations. Okay? Now, we need to control the senses and strengthen the intelligence. And this is another acronym called COST. C stands for conviction. Now, conviction in a goal is essential. Without having a very strong conviction in anything, you will not be able to achieve anything. Yeah? Determination requires conviction. Yeah? If you start a journey and as soon as the first obstacle comes, you'll be like, okay, this obstacle is so big, why did I even start off this journey? If I don't even have a strong enough conviction, if I don't have a strong enough why, then even the slightest stumbling block will push me down, will push me away from continuing the journey. So the first thing is conviction, and conviction goes on the intellectual space. Yeah, it is one of the most subtle things. Conviction in the goal is essential. Okay, therefore it is on. If you look at it, if you want to progress in spiritual life, you need to be initiated. And what happens in initiation? You make a solid vow. You make vows. And there are 4 main vows you make. The 4 don'ts and 1 do. The 4 don'ts you do is that I will not engage in illicit relations. I will not undertake intoxication. I will not eat meat. And I will not gamble. And the do is I will at least chant 16 rounds. These vows that you give to the spiritual master, it gives you a solid conviction to stay on the path because you're given a vow. It's a lifelong vow. So that gives you conviction in the goal. Okay? Then you have O, which is openness. Now, all of us need, sometimes going on a journey alone is difficult. We need the support of others to lift us up. And that is why this one hits on the emotional and mental space. So conviction hits on the intellectual space. Openness gives us mental strength or emotional strength to continue on the journey. Yeah, when you get the support of others, like there's this organization called Alcoholics Anonymous, where people who are alcohol addicts, they get together and they try to support each other in their rehabilitation program so that they do not relapse into becoming addicts again or substance abusers again. So organizations like that, or even for this matter, a temple congregation for that matter, helps in giving openness when we support each other in our spiritual journey. S is safety. Now we need to re-engineer our lifestyle to minimize provocation. Say a person is an alcoholic and now he's living right above a pub. He's living right above a pub. How is it going to happen? He has to create some sort of distance from staying not in or above a pub, but maybe like 5-10 miles away. Then only will that help him to sustain the journey of getting out of becoming an alcoholic. If that person just lives on top of a pub, even slightest provocation will be like, give it up, let's just go downstairs and have a pint. Yeah? So safety, you need to re-engineer your lifestyle in such a way that you're creating barriers, creating safety barriers from the things that provoke you. Now you're getting to the gross body. See, it started from the subtle body. So intellectual space, mental space, the mind, and now on the gross. But finally, there's one layer we need to look at: spiritual sense. We need taste. We need higher taste. We need spiritual taste to develop of connecting with Krishna. And without developing higher taste, we will not be able to let go of the lower taste. For example, somebody tells you that you only have to have khichdi every single day of your life. And at this time, you have no idea this is an item called pizza. You've been told that you're eating khichdi every single day. And then as soon as you've been told, okay, now you can have pizza, and now you can choose to have pizza for the rest of your life, or you can choose to have khichdi for the rest of your life. How many of you will choose the pizza?
Please.
Yes.
Pizza.
Yeah? Oh, everyone's a good boy here. Now, so if you're given a choice of a higher taste, giving up the taste of a lower thing is easier to do, right? So developing a spiritual taste or higher taste, it's easier to let go of our lower material desires, right? So that is the end of the practical part of this session. The last is just a summary that I've written down for you guys for you to have a look at as a summary. So thank you everyone for giving your time, and hope you guys learned something new from this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama